always want to go to sleep after that. It's like someone has to give me a little kick in the butt to get rolling again. You know, we've been talking this month about creating spiritually intelligent leadership. I welcome those of you who are here for the first time. Wonderful to see you on Thanksgiving especially. Thank you for being here. Thank you all. Yes, I don't know that I know this gentleman either. Welcome, welcome. And why I chose to talk about this over the next couple of months is significant to me because I think that, you know, we go through our days with this idea of needing to know. And the more we know, the more secure we are, well-positioned we are, advantaged we are. And what we know in this teaching, Religious Science, created by Dr. Ernest Holmes, is that really the less we know, the more open we are to guidance of our own internal wisdom. So we're making a clear distinction between our intellect and our intelligence, our spiritual intelligence. And so I thought it was really befitting to spend some time on this subject because, you know, our minds get so busy being fragmented on the next best thing, the next best person, the next best pathway, the next best whatever, and we forget it's all here. So today I'm going to talk about what in the model of spiritual intelligence, which is an actual personal and spiritual assessment model created by a woman named Dr. Cindy Wigglesworth, who was once human resources at Exxon Oil, who is a devout member of the Unity Church in Texas. And she's found a way to language this idea of personal spiritual integration that she can move not only into individuals' lives, but the lives of leaders in the corporate world. I am all for that. Now, most of you know that I am retiring from pulpit ministry on November 1st. And my focus ministry is moving into the business corporate world with the principles that we teach in religious science. So I'm very grateful for Cindy's work. I think it's a very deep body of work that creates deep change in individuals and creates a conscious awareness and behavior and skill application that truly can change not only the individual's life, but of course the culture in which exists in the workplace. Right? So the cultural shift is about, is about bringing people into this idea that I am enough, there is enough, that the universe is abundant, that everything I need is within me, that I can create a life of my desire by consciously co-creating my reality. So that implies a few other things: self-existence, self-reliance, right? And it also implies the need to creatively think, to think original thoughts. This is the foundation of what Dr. Ernest Holmes was hoping and knowing that all people could grasp. Because we are free thinkers, we have free will, and it's always up to us as to what we choose. We know that life is greater than any religion or philosophy that tries to explain it. And there's no exception, not even religious science. For such is the nature of life itself, and the nature of life wants and only wants an opportunity to appear. And I believe you're that opportunity, I'm that opportunity. We are the opportunity for God to express and experience itself uniquely. One of our tenets of our teaching is that everything flows from unity, oneness, multiplicity from oneness. And when we have a need to know and use our intellect, we often stay and manage our lives at the level of our intellect, manage our lives at the level of physical condition or where they appear, instead of moving into the spiritual intelligence within us, that I am connection, so that we can be the open portal to that field of possibility in this subjective universe. I think it's the purpose of religious science, or we also call this teaching science of mind, to make each of us aware of our divine purpose of being, not doing. You all can figure that out later. But don't we put that first? We do, because we identify ourselves based on who we are not, and our experiences and our beliefs. And that's all past, and or, even if it is in the present moment, it comes through our perceptions, and our perceptions are based on our experience from the past, unless we bring a new idea to the foreground. Science of mind, for me, for this community, is that new idea. Now, science of mind is a faith-neutral, faith-friendly teaching. It's a philosophy. It's a way of life. So it doesn't matter where you come from. You can keep your faith traditions. You can keep everything. We talk about the absolute realm. We talk about that realm of causation from which all things flow, that unity, that oneness. Again, you can name that however you wish. Intelligence, God, Creator, Spirit, love, divine, doesn't matter. It's only a name. What matters is our relationship to it, as it. So clearly, to it implies to, a relationship with something else. As it does not imply a relationship. It implies one expression of our choosing. Here at the Joy of Life, as Reverend Trish indicated, we come together in community in a very intimate, informal way. Because that's our life. You know, we don't want to be hearing these lofty ideas and principles and walk out of here and go, oh, like, how does this, I don't know, I can't do this. You know, or go, wow, I really felt good in there, and then get in your car and drive away, and then forget the whole feeling. You've got to take something with you, and that's what these principles allow us to do. Principles like, I am, bless you. I am blessed. How about that? I am blessed. I'm whole, perfect, and complete, just the way I am. The only time there is to create in life is present, right? There is no past or future. That has been an experience and will be an experience, but it's all based on what we choose now. Another one of the tenets of the teachings of science of mind is to live from a place of gratitude. Gratitude for all that has been given, everything we see that we have experienced, or everything that we can't see that already exists for us to experience should we choose it. There's a similar Hasidic teaching that states when we take one step toward God, the Spirit in all, God takes 100 steps towards us. So today we're going to take a step. For each one of you, it will be different, I'm sure, as we celebrate in great thanks for our lives and for this community. So, in the spiritual intelligence model, there are 4 quadrants. We've talked about self-awareness as the first quadrant. The second quadrant was self-mastery. And the third quadrant, universal awareness, to which Reverend Monica spoke last week. And the fourth quadrant is social mastery, spiritual presence. It's one and the same. What I notice is, and you will notice this too, that we tend to want to control a lot of what's in us and a lot of what's around us. Now, I have to say, as this transition, after a little more than 13 years of us beginning this community, this transition for me, I not only have my own personal process around this, but everybody else, especially the core leadership of the center, also has their process. And it's a process of release. It's plain and simple, really. It looks different for everyone, and it feels different for everyone. One of the things I know for myself, and I'm imagining for them and for you in your own lives in situations that are challenging, that are changing. I won't just say changing. I will say transformational. Is that we want to hold on. And the only way we can hold on is to control. Control what we feel, control what we say, control what we think. When really, the best way to deal with transformation is to let go of this idea of controlling as in suppression. And if you need to control anything, let it be for your thoughts and the busyness of your mind, first and foremost, because all thought creates and everything moves down from our thought. Let it be for controlling the busyness of our mind. Let it be for opening that space for stillness and for listening and for guidance and for creative thinking, a new perspective, a new thought. In the model, spiritual intelligence, Cindy talks about circles of control. And she places us in the middle, of course, right? Because we're the center of our own cosmos. We are consciousness, God consciousness acting at a center point called this expression. And she says that statistically 80 to 90% is what we can control within our own being, right? Within our own mind. The next circle is the circle of influence. Now we can control that a little bit through our relationships, our connections and communications. And the outer circle is called the circle of concern. Now, she advises that we spend that 80 to 90% right where we are. 10 to 20% of our time and energy around our circle of influence. Right? So those would be the people we love, our family, our close friends. And let go the circle of concern. But most often, when we're going through a challenge or a transition, we're really busy out here about everybody else, right? How they're feeling, how they're thinking, what they're saying, you know, how it's going to impact, how I'm going to impact. Are we being spiritually intelligent? Are we leaders in our own life at that moment? Are we showing the grace of social mastery? Are we being spiritual presence? Don't think so. So what I want to talk about today is how when we stand and spend that time and energy, the 80 to 90%, in what we can control, what we can choose and shift and change, we become the spiritual presence and have a sense of social mastery in our communications and our connections, be they personal or professional. Perception is not equal to ultimate reality. Would you all agree? Our perception is not equal to ultimate reality. Yet we often act and react based on what we perceive. So perception does become our reality. Captain?
I think Marcus Aurelius said it best. All we ever hear is opinion, not fact. All we ever see is perception.
Very nice. Very beautifully put. You bet. And Holmes says that also. You know, the facts that we see are not the truth. It's just some result of a cause that has gone before, right? And so Holmes teaches that our thought is cause. It's the seed we plant into the soil of our own mental atmosphere. It's a conscious idea that we plant in our subconscious mind, which is also the soil. And eventually, if left alone and undisturbed, it will grow into its own potential. So a tulip seed grows to be a tulip. So we can choose to control our perceptions and our interpretations. And what I think, and what I use often, is gratitude. I use gratitude as an interceptor. Before that core belief pattern has its way with me, I cut it off at the pass. I nip it in the bud with gratitude and with humility. Humility. I think both of those allow our perceptions to expand to what? To include the perceptions of others. Social mastery. To include the perceptions of others. Compassion, empathy grows from this. And the willingness to look at and live from these spiritual principles, relevantly speaking, from the wholeness and divinity of who I am. Live from loving myself as I am. Small I am, big I am. When I don't feel I'm connected to the divine truth, which is an impossibility, and when I do feel that I am being graced and filled by something that I can't describe. So, the fourth quadrant, as in all quadrants of this model, help us to complete the fluid movement of an integrated self. And one of the skills in this quadrant is seeking guidance from our higher self. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about another skill, which is moving with the ebb and flow of life. You know, when people say to you, oh, I just go with the flow, and you get so irritated because you feel like they're not taking responsibility for their life, right? They're just letting everybody else make up their mind and influence them. And yet you ponder because it seems that life is so easy for them. So you wonder, what is in that? What is in that? What happens there? So the first skill is seeking guidance from the higher self. Now, Cindy, in every skill, she rates it from like a beginner level to a level of mastery. So I'm going to take you through those 5 levels. See where you recognize yourself, probably in each one of them, as things always seem to work out. So the beginner level of seeking guidance from your higher self, not a higher self, your higher self, which is God, is that you seek guidance on how to live a good life from respected authority figures and external sources such as sacred texts. So when we start to seek guidance from our higher self, we begin with a higher self, and it seems to be outside of us. You're doing it right now. Right? But you're here to remember. You're here to remind. You're not here to learn anything from me, because I can't teach you anything. I can only express and speak what is my own truth and represent this teaching. You, in your own magnificent wisdom, will open to new truths about who and what you are in life. That's the first level. Second level, I ask for help from higher self, spirit, with regards to what I should do. So I stop reading and talking to people and getting their opinions, and I just become quiet. And I ask, knowing that it is very possible I will not get the answer right away. Also knowing it is very possible I could get the answer right away. Regardless, I become still and I listen. The third level, I question eternal guidance. And I debate issues internally or externally to achieve personal wisdom about what is right behavior in any situation. I may get angry at authorities, including God or my higher wisdom self. You've got to ask questions. We can't settle on anything. Life is about the next right question. It isn't about any answer. Right? And that can be very frustrating. I heard someone comment on that. The fourth level is I have developed a strong inner guidance system, a sense of when I am on purpose or in the flow of spirit and when I am not. Doesn't that feel good? When you come to that place. When you can really be aware in the moment, be present enough to observe how you're feeling about what you're asking and what you're thinking after you have gone inside for your own guidance. And the last level in this skill, the mastery level, is this. I have an increasing sense of effortless alignment with spirit. Inner guidance, my inner guidance system, another way to say that. So well developed and so well practiced that most of the time staying aligned is just a part of who I am. A feeling of surrender or transformation of ego self to serve higher self has occurred. I always like to take a moment and stop here when I always see the words ego and higher self together. Every one of us has a purpose of being. It is common, according to this teaching and the teaching of many masters. The purpose of being to be the wholeness and truth of who we are expressed. But we all have varying degrees, journeys, challenges in order to live that purpose of being. Common for all of us is the recognition of the ego and the higher self that lives within us. Common for all of us is knowing that they are one thing, not two. But boy, do we fight that. Because this is a physical world where we look upon things and think dualistically. We think up, down, this, that, big, small, rich, poor. And we have a whole system out there that will support that, right? So this is our inner spiritual work. But it's never to trash the ego. Just for the people who are here for the first time, the rest of you close your ears because I've said it a million times. The acronym for ego, who knows it? Okay, you up for a new one? Easing God on board. Oh, wow. All of a sudden, this ego gets to sit on an altar. We bless that part of us. If we are to bless ourselves and love ourselves, we must embrace the whole of us. Right? So, I want to ask you, when was the last time in your communication with others that you deeply understood the issues, the concerns, and the needs of all parties? When was the last time in communication with others that you deeply understood the issues, the concerns, and the needs of others? Now, you're probably skilled at doing that from time to time. But it takes us a while to move out from beyond the ego's perception and needs and attachments to be able to open to that infinite possibility where two or more are gathered. Yes? Probably. When we perceive and connect from our spiritual intelligence, we maintain our involvement until a win-win result occurs without compromise. Can you imagine yourself in your communications, especially your challenging ones right now? Just pick one person, just one person. Even if you love them dearly, which you probably do, somewhere in all of that thought and confusion and why questioning. Could you imagine sitting with that person, opening up to their needs, not putting yours on the back burner, not compromising what your soul needs? We don't need to be dramatic about it, right? But just opening to embrace both your needs. And staying in that place until communication creates a win-win. Powerful. Spiritually intelligent people tune in to the natural flow of right timing without premature closing off of our connections. And thereby we honor the process. We honor the process. Life giving life. Learning to love. Learning to honor and respect. The other, yes, but only possible through doing it here for ourselves first. Spiritually intelligent people clean and clear themselves from any agenda or needs of the ego before we enter into participation. That way we can keep neutral and hold space for that win-win. That means we have to do our work always. This outer expression of ours, this social mastery, is just an effect of something that has gone before in our own choosing, our own spiritual practice, our own ways and means of loving ourselves and being grateful for our lives, just as they are. Because we know that we can't create anything new unless we are fully present where we are. We have to start where we are. Okay. So the other skill I wanted to share was being aligned with the ebb and flow of life. So the beginner level of this is, I can sense when timing is right for something and act on it. That's the beginner level. We might have thought that was an advanced level, according to Cindy, okay? But it gives us great food for thought. The second level is obstacles can have multiple meanings. Don't you love it when you get a challenge in your life? I talked to so many people at that trade show, and they would come to me, and a lot of them would talk about a challenge, right, that they were having. And they were absolutely sure this is what it meant. And I said, great. Are you going to go with that? Well, because they weren't really sure, but they wanted to make it something and identify it so that they could have control over it and move past it real fast. So I would say, oh, great, you're going to go with that? They go, well, pretty sure yeah, what do you think? There it is, right? We're not sure. We're never sure. One of my favorite new expressions is, and I sent it out on my Facebook timeline, I borrowed it from somebody else. It was something like this, and I paraphrase. Okay, wait a minute. I lost it. I got so excited there. Oh, in all honesty, my whole life, my eyeliner and everything, I'm just winging it. That's me in a nutshell. Is that you? I mean, truth be known, if we're moving and transforming from this idea of needing to know and controlling our lives and our thoughts and our emotions and our experiences and you know, doing all that, and to the other place where we sit and we're open to the field of possibility, where we move fluidly with the ebb and flow of life and trust the inner guidance. Whew, that's a big jump, right? So it seems like we're either over here or we're over here, but we're not. We're always here, looping. This is where we are. We're never stuck. We're always looping because life is fluid and it's always moving, and you can't stop it no matter what you think or do. It's always going to move and expand and explode because that's evolution. Beyond what it has experienced before, because it's infinite. Only makes sense. Okay, I interrupted that one because I got excited. Okay, so Okay, obstacles can have multiple meanings. They can mean it is time to slow down, time to work harder, or a sign that the direction you're taking might not be right for you at that time, and a whole bunch of other possibilities, right? So you're making it up. You're going to make up what that sign is, the sign means, that obstacle or challenge in your life, right? Now you can either make it up congruent with your deep subconscious core beliefs about what is real and what isn't, or what is right or true or good for you or not, or you can make it up based on listening to your inner spiritual guidance. I don't know. I kind of like the latter myself. The next one, I can recognize the difference between blessings and distractions that appear in my path. The right people and resources appear when I need them. Now, I know of many a blessing in retrospect that was a big distraction. So I can't say they're blessings or distractions. I can only say it's where I choose to focus my attention at that moment. Yes, I have vices. Yes, I bought a car because I felt anxiety in this transformational time when I didn't need a car. Craziness. It's craziness. And yet, I get to look at that decision and I get to own it, be responsible for it, embrace it, delight in it, and enjoy the car. Now that was not easy for me, right? But I got to it faster by loving myself than judging myself. That is an amen. The next one, my work is guided by natural timing. Ooh, that's a hard one for me. What about you? Just kind of, just letting, just listen and just trust and just, be so present with who I am and how I feel. Be so clear when I speak that I just know everything is already aligned and I can just keep walking like in nirvana, My work is guided by natural timing. I know when to push ahead and when to pause. That I know. Do you know that? Do we often push ahead a little more, don't we, than pause? But we're getting it. We're all getting it. I observe my body and immediately notice subtle changes in my sense of being tired or being energized. I remember many times I was exhausted and I didn't even know I was exhausted and I kept pushing, right? And I look back on those times and I don't judge myself, but I feel a sadness. I feel like I abused myself, but it was through ignorance. It wasn't through intention, right? The last level of being fluid with the ebb and flow of life in this quadrant is, I live joyfully in the eternal present moment. Who I am and what I do is one effortless dance. Maj Branislaw wrote a poem called A Leaf. I want to share that with you. A leaf, one of the last parts from a maple branch. It is spinning in the transparent air of October. It falls on a heap of others, stops, fades. No one admired its entrancing struggle with the wind or followed its flight. No one will distinguish it now as it lies among other leaves. No one saw what I did. I am the only one. We are the only ones that notice what we notice. Sometimes we're too busy noticing what other people notice or don't notice. I love that because it reminds me that there is such beauty and preciousness in every simple creation, action, movement of life itself. And when I notice those things, I feel the spiritual presence. I don't need to distinguish it between out there in the leaf, its nature, or in me, and make it a gift my ego wraps up and gives back to me. I don't need to do that. I just notice spiritual presence. Dr. Holmes reminds us that the infinite all, that one self-existent cause, is always giving of itself. He says it's an intelligence that has no need for us, being ready to flow its creative nature through us. It is always there as we are open to receive it as our nature. Its presence in our life increases as we increase our measurement of belief in our intrinsic connection, as we learn to love self as God. There's a book out called If Buddha Got Stuck. I don't know if any of you have read it. I took something out of that I wanted to share with you, and it says, live in current time, like a sailor on a sailboat noticing changing winds, clouds, and waves. Even though you may have gone to classes on sailing, studied it too, survival depends on awareness of current time and what wise action or non-action to take. Conditioned and pattern actions promise problems. Nice, eh? So, on this Thanksgiving, I'm hoping that we each have a movement which is fluid in our understanding and our expression, our communication with life, because we get fed. We get fed from receiving from spirit, the life, the truth, the potentiality, the blessing that we are, so that we can move forward, not judging ourselves, but loving ourselves. When we don't judge, there's no need for forgiveness. Right? When we love, again, no need for forgiveness. It's just love. It's all-encompassing. Raymond Charles Barker, one of Holmes's contemporaries, said, "When love becomes less like a laser beam and more like sunlight, this is the day. For love is not a holding power. It is a freeing power." Our human hearts are almost always willing to take the chance, because love must expand despite the provocation of our greatest fears. It's true, isn't it? That's why we love romance movies and novels. That's why we love looking into a small puppy or a small panda or all those wonderful Facebook posts about animals. I'm addicted. Why? Because there's an innocence. We know there's a whole life of experience, yet unexpressed. May we know that innocence in ourselves. May we know that unexpressed life and not contain it by what has gone before, our age, our status, our position. Let us take this Thanksgiving and be grateful for who and what we are and life is. Holmes says this concept of love expanding as its natural way moves us into the idea that in order to know ourselves as this expanding love, we must relinquish that tight control on our belief system, even about our connection with God and even about our idea of God. In this way, we make ourselves receptive to the changeless nature of wholeness and its eternal nature of givingness to all. So I've tried to encapsulate this idea of spiritual presence together with social mastery. And where does it all begin? And so it is.